The alert sounded across NASA's Deep Space Monitoring Station at exactly 3:17 am. John Carter, the night shift operator, nearly spilled his coffee as the computer screens flashed red. The signal pattern was unlike anything recorded before, not random cosmic noise, but structured, with clear patterns that suggested intelligence. "Get me Director Phillips," John said to his assistant. "Now." Within hours, the discovery reached the Pentagon. By noon, Commander Alan Wright of the Space Defense Force stood in a secured room, watching the signal pattern repeat on a large screen. "What are we looking at?" Alan asked, his eyes fixed on the pulsing lights. Dr. Susan Miller, the lead scientist assigned to the case, pointed to a specific pattern. "It's not coming from Earth or any known satellite. The signal originates near Jupiter's orbit, Commander, and it's getting weaker." The President authorized an immediate mission. 3 days later, the SDF vessel Eagle, under Commander Wright's command, launched toward Jupiter with Dr. Miller and a small crew of specialists on board. Approaching the coordinates, pilot Ellen Ross announced as the Eagle slowed near Jupiter's massive form, "Visual contact in 3, 2, 1. Through the view screen, they saw it. A sleek, silver vessel about twice the size of their own ship. Its hull bore strange markings and showed signs of severe damage. No response to hails, Communications Officer Ben Harris reported. Alan made his decision quickly. "Prepare boarding suits. Dr. Miller, you're with me." The alien ship's interior was dimly lit by emergency lighting. The architecture was strange. Corridors curved in ways that made no sense to human minds, and the air smelled like cinnamon and rust. They found the alien in what appeared to be the control room. It lay slumped over a console, its body trembling slightly. The creature had bluish skin, 4 arms, and a head with no visible eyes, just a series of small holes where a human's face would be. When it sensed their presence, it turned toward them. A small device on its chest began to translate its weak, gurgling speech into English. "Humans," it said, "you should not have come." Dr. Miller knelt beside the dying alien. "We're here to help. What happened to your ship?" "No time," the alien said. "I am Vexilor, scout of the Galactic hegemony. My ship was damaged escaping your system." "Escaping?" Alan asked. "From what?" "From my mission." Vexilor's breathing became more labored. "The hegemony has watched Earth for centuries. We watch all emerging worlds. Those who advance too quickly must be contained." Susan looked at Alan with concern. "You were spying on us. Why?" "The hegemony rules 10,000 worlds. No new power is allowed to rise." Vexilor reached into a pocket with a trembling hand and withdrew a small crystal cube. "I disagreed with my orders. That is why I damaged my own ship." He pressed the cube into Susan's hand. "This contains everything. Our technology, star maps, military capabilities, my final act of rebellion." "Why help us?" Alan asked. "Because in studying your people, I found something rare." Vexilor's translator struggled to keep up with his fading voice. "Potential. Compassion. The hegemony fears these qualities." His body shuddered. "They will come now. My ship's disappearance will alert them. You must prepare." "How much time do we have?" Alan asked. "Not enough," Vexilor replied. Unless you can understand what's in the data core." "The answer is there, the void between." The alien's body went still. The translator fell silent. Back on Earth, the data core became humanity's most valuable possession. Teams of scientists worked day and night to decode its secrets. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, on the gleaming world of Celestis Prime, Grand Sovereign Zaxxol received a troubling report. Scout vessel K-927 has gone silent near the primitive world Sol 3, a servant reported. Zaxxol's 6 eyes narrowed. Increased surveillance. If the humans found that ship, it will be done, Sovereign. As the servant left, Zaxel stared at the holographic image of Earth floating before him. Such a small world, he murmured. Such a potentially large problem. 6 months passed since the discovery of Vexeler's ship. Deep beneath a government facility in Nevada, Dr. Patricia Lang stared at equations that covered an entire wall of digital screens. For weeks, she had barely slept, consumed by the alien mathematics contained in the data core. "I don't understand why you're still stuck on this section," said Steve Porter, her assistant. "We've already decoded the star maps and basic technology specs." Patricia shook her head. "This isn't just math, Steve. These equations describe something fundamental about reality itself." She stepped back, looking at the pattern as a whole rather than individual symbols. Then she saw it. "That's it." Patricia's hands flew across her keyboard. "It's not about the particles themselves. It's about the space between them." 3 hours later, she presented her findings to Commander Alan Wright and the project directors. "The aliens call it void energy," Patricia explained, pointing to a simple-looking device on the table. "It doesn't generate energy from matter like our reactors. It pulls energy from the space between atoms, from nothing." "From nothing." General Frank Nelson looked skeptical. "That's impossible." "That's what we thought," Patricia replied. "But the math checks out. This small prototype should produce enough energy to power this entire facility." Ellen stepped forward. "And you built this from the alien specs?" "No," Patricia smiled. "I built it from first principles, using their math. It's simpler than their version. More human." They moved to a shielded test chamber. Patricia placed the device on a platform and connected it to monitoring equipment. "Ready?" she asked. Everyone nodded. Patricia pressed a button on her tablet. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a soft blue glow surrounded the device. The energy meters began to climb rapidly. "It's working," Steve exclaimed. "Power output is 10 times what we expected," Patricia said, her voice filled with wonder. "And it's stable." General Nelson walked closer to the device. "What are the military applications?" Patricia hesitated. "The energy can be focused. The aliens used it mainly for propulsion, but theoretically, it could be weaponized." Alan finished her sentence. "Within weeks, the first void energy reactor was secretly powering major cities. People noticed only that their electricity bills dropped dramatically. Meanwhile, in military labs, the first void-based weapons were tested. The effect is unlike anything we've seen," Patricia explained to the Joint Chiefs of Staff as they watched footage of a test. "It doesn't explode or burn. It simply unmakes things." The video showed a tank targeted by a small void energy beam. Instead of exploding, portions of the tank simply vanished, leaving perfectly clean edges where metal had once been. "We call it selective annihilation," Alan said. "We can tune it to affect only specific materials." General Nelson nodded with approval. "How soon can we deploy this on our defense platforms?" 3 months, Patricia answered. "But there's something you should know. Every time we activate one of these devices, it creates a specific energy signature that can be detected from space." "You think the hegemony will notice?" Alan asked. "I know they will," Patricia said. "We're lighting signal fires they can't miss." Millions of light years away, on a hegemony monitoring station, an alarm sounded. The technician on duty checked the readings twice before calling his superior. "Commander, we're detecting void energy signatures from Sol 3. The hegemony commander's face darkened. "Impossible. That's a primitive world." "The readings are clear, sir, and the signature is different, more efficient than our own designs." The commander stared at the data. "Alert Celestis Prime immediately. The humans have achieved in months what took us millennia." On Earth, blissfully unaware of the panic spreading through the galactic hegemony, humanity continued its technological revolution, preparing defenses for a war they knew would eventually come. The Grand Council chamber on Celestis Prime gleamed with polished stone and ancient metals. 12 massive chairs formed a circle, each occupied by a member of the High Council. At the center stood Admiral Drenzar, his scales reflecting the blue light from the holographic display. "This is the energy signature we detected from Sol 3, Drenzar said, pointing to a pulsing pattern. "It matches void manipulation technology, but with a different harmonic structure." Grand Sovereign Zaxol leaned forward, his 6 eyes narrowing. "You're certain these readings come from Earth, the primitive world?" "There is no mistake, Sovereign. We have confirmed it from 3 different monitoring stations." Councillor Vrenta, the oldest member present, shook her head. "Impossible. These humans were using combustion engines less than 200 years ago. Void technology requires understanding of 11-dimensional physics. Yet they have it," Drenzar insisted, "and their version appears more efficient than our own." A murmur ran through the council. Zaxol raised a hand for silence. "How did they acquire this knowledge?" he demanded. Admiral Drenzar hesitated. "We believe they recovered Scout Vexler's ship, the one that went missing 6 of their months ago." "One ship with basic technology couldn't give them this," argued Councillor Mrazer of the Science Guild. "They must have had help. Vexler must have deliberately shared restricted information." "Treason," hissed another councillor. Intelligence Overseer Kelvin, who had remained silent until now, stood up. Unlike the others, his species was small and pale, with large eyes that seemed to see through lies. "Perhaps we should consider a different approach," Kelvin suggested. "These humans have shown remarkable adaptability. They might make valuable allies rather than enemies." Admiral Drenzar laughed. "Allies? With primitives. Primitives who mastered void technology in months rather than millennia," Kelvin countered. "Their learning curve is unprecedented. We should study them, not destroy them." "And if they continue to advance at this rate?" Drenzar asked. "In 10 years, they could rival our most advanced technology. In 20, they might surpass us." The council chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Zaxol rose from his chair, towering over the others. "We have ruled 10,000 worlds for 12,000 years because we never allow threats to mature. Show me their military capacity." The hologram changed to display Earth's defenses, a small fleet of ships, orbital platforms, ground installations. "Pitiful," said Drenzar. "Their void technology is impressive, but their deployment is in its infancy. We could crush them now with minimal losses." "And if we wait?" asked Zaxol. "Every day makes them stronger." Zaxol paced the chamber, considering his options. Finally, he stopped and faced the council. "Prepare the 7th Fleet for immediate deployment to Sol 3. 100 warships should be sufficient. Your orders, Admiral Drenzar, are to sterilize the planet. No survivors." Kelvin stepped forward. "Sovereign, I must formally object. This violates our own laws regarding emerging civilizations. We have protocols for first contact." "Those protocols assume normal development patterns," Zaxol replied coldly. "These humans are an anomaly, a danger to galactic stability." "At least allow me to send an assessment team first," Kelvin pleaded. "Let us learn how they advanced so quickly. That knowledge alone could be invaluable." "Your objection is noted, Overseer Kelvin," Zaxol said dismissively. "But my decision stands. The fleet departs in 3 days." As the council dispersed, Kelvin approached Admiral Drenzar privately. "This is a mistake," Kelvin whispered. "Something about these humans is different. I sense it." Drenzar's expression hardened. "Your concern for primitives is touching, Overseer, but remember your place. The Sovereign has decided. On Earth, unaware of the death sentence just pronounced against their world, humans continued their preparations. In orbit, the first void-powered defense platforms were being installed, while scientists worked to unlock more secrets from Vexler's data core. They had no idea that 100 warships were about to jump into their system, bringing with them the might of an empire that had never known defeat. The emergency sirens blared across every major city on Earth. On screens worldwide, The same message flashed. This is not a drill. In the United Space Command Headquarters, Admiral Alan Wright watched the approaching dots on the tactical display. 100 alien vessels had just appeared near Mars, moving in perfect formation toward Earth. "Status of our fleet?" Alan asked, his voice steady despite the tension. "All 12 ships combat ready, Admiral," replied Captain Greg Mason. "Void weapons charged and targeting systems online." Alan nodded. Earth's small defense fleet was vastly outnumbered, but they had one advantage. The aliens didn't know what human void weapons could do. "All ships, this is Admiral Wright. Execute Maneuver Jupiter. I repeat, execute Maneuver Jupiter." The human fleet accelerated toward the gas giant, seemingly retreating. The hegemony vessels followed, just as Alan had hoped. Aboard the Defiant, Captain Susan Miller watched Jupiter grow larger on her view screen. "Prepare for gravitational slingshot in 3, 2, 1. The human ships skimmed Jupiter's upper atmosphere, using its massive gravity to catapult them at incredible speeds in unpredictable directions. The maneuver scattered Earth's fleet, but also gave them momentum the hegemony ships couldn't match. "Attack pattern Delta," Susan ordered as her ship spun around, now racing directly toward the enemy fleet. The Defiant's weapons officer, Lieutenant Paul Garcia, locked onto the nearest hegemony vessel. Target acquired. Firing void cannon. A beam of shimmering blue energy lanced out from the Defiant. When it struck the alien ship, something unexpected happened. Instead of being stopped by shields, the beam passed through them, as if they weren't there. A perfect circular hole appeared in the hegemony vessel's hull, followed by 3 more as Paul continued firing. "Their shields don't block void energy," Susan realized. "All ships target their engines and weapon systems." Across the battlefield, human vessels executed hit-and-run attacks, striking quickly before using Jupiter's gravity to slingshot away. 7 hegemony ships were disabled in the first assault. On the hegemony flagship, Commander Vextrol watched in disbelief. "How are they penetrating our shields?" he demanded. A science officer studied the readings. "Unknown, Commander. Their weapons use void energy, but with a harmonic pattern our shields aren't calibrated to stop. Recalibrate immediately." "Attempting, but the pattern is shifting. They're changing frequencies with each shot." Vextrol slammed his fist on the console. "These primitives are more dangerous than we thought. All ships, adjust formation. Prepare main cannons." The hegemony fleet regrouped, bringing their powerful plasma cannons to bear. When they fired, Earth's small ships couldn't fully evade. 3 human vessels were destroyed in seconds. "We've lost the Valiant, Courage, and Defender," Greg reported, his voice breaking slightly. Alan's jaw tightened. "Order all remaining ships to fall back to Earth's defense perimeter." The human fleet retreated, with hegemony vessels in pursuit. As they approached Earth, the orbital defense platforms activated, creating a web of void energy beams. 2 more hegemony ships were caught in the crossfire and disabled, but the alien fleet pressed forward. "They're launching landing craft," someone shouted. Alan studied the tactical display, looking for options. Earth's defenses were impressive for a developing world, but not enough to stop the full might of the hegemony. "Get me a direct line to Dr. Lang," he ordered. "Ask her if the selective annihilation prototype is ready." "Sir, that technology hasn't been properly tested," Greg protested. "Neither was the wheel until someone used it." Alan replied grimly. "We're out of conventional options." As the remaining Earth ships formed a last defensive line around the planet, Alan addressed his fleet. "This is Admiral Wright to all Earth forces. Stand your ground. Help is coming. Remember, we're not just fighting for our lives. We're fighting for the right of every species to develop without the hegemony's control. Today, humanity proves we belong among the stars." The hegemony fleet moved into position for their final assault, unaware that in a Nevada laboratory, Dr. Patricia Lang was activating a device that would change the course of the battle. and galactic history. Deep beneath the Nevada desert, Dr. Patricia Lang worked frantically. The underground lab hummed with energy as technicians rushed around the central platform, where a strange device sat. "Power levels stable at 90%, called out Steve Porter from his station. Patricia nodded, her fingers flying across the control panel. "Begin frequency calibration. We need to target only hegemony alloys and energy systems." The device on the platform was unlike anything humans had built before. It resembled a silver sphere surrounded by rotating rings. This was the selective annihilation field generator, humanity's last hope. Patricia's secure line buzzed. Admiral Wright's face appeared on screen, streaked with sweat and grime from the battle. "Please tell me you have good news, Doctor," Ellen said. "The SAF is ready for deployment, but there's something you need to understand." Patricia replied. "This isn't a conventional weapon. It doesn't destroy matter. It selectively phases it out of our dimension." "Will it stop the hegemony fleet?" "Yes, but we can target it precisely. We can remove their weapons and engines without harming their crews." Alan's eyes widened. "You mean we could disable their entire fleet without killing them?" "Exactly. We don't need to destroy them to win." For a moment, Alan was silent. Then he nodded. "Do it. Show them who we really are." Patricia turned to her team. "Initiate SAF deployment. Target pattern Alpha. Weapons and propulsion systems only." The sphere began to glow with blue-white light. Energy pulsed through the rings, growing brighter until it was painful to look at. Then, with a sound like a gentle sigh, the light vanished. But something invisible spread outward from the device, racing toward space at impossible speed. In orbit, the battle had turned desperate. Earth's remaining ships were surrounded, taking heavy damage. Captain Susan Miller watched as her ship, the Defiant, lost power to its main weapons. "Reroute emergency power. We need those void cannons," she ordered. Suddenly, the attacking hegemony vessel directly ahead of her stopped firing. Its engines flickered and died. Across her view screen, Susan saw the same thing happening to ship after ship in the enemy fleet. Weapons simply vanished. Engine sections disappeared, leaving clean, perfect cuts in the hull. "What's happening?" asked Lieutenant Garcia. Susan watched in amazement. "They didn't destroy them. They just took away their ability to fight." On the Hegemony flagship, Commander Vextrol stared in horror as sections of his vessel simply ceased to exist. "Report," he shouted. "All weapons systems gone, Commander," his officer replied, voice shaking. "Engines non-functional. It's like they never existed." "Impossible," Vextrol whispered. "No technology can do this." His communications officer turned from her station. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the human flagship." Admiral Wright's face appeared on their main screen. "Hegemony forces, this is Admiral Alan Wright of Earth. Your fleet has been disabled, but your life support remains intact. We have no desire to harm your crews." "What have you done to our ships?" Vextrol demanded. "We've removed your ability to threaten us," Alan replied calmly. "Not destroyed. Removed. There's a difference. We could have annihilated your entire fleet, but that's not who we are." Vextrol's expression changed from anger to disbelief. "Why show mercy? We came to destroy your world. Because we believe there's a better way than endless war. Your Grand Sovereign needs to understand that." Alan's face hardened slightly. "We'll send rescue ships to evacuate your crews. Consider yourselves guests of Earth, not prisoners." As the transmission ended, Vextrol looked out at his crippled fleet, 100 of the Hegemony's finest warships, defeated not by superior firepower, but by technology that defied understanding, and mercy that defied explanation. On Celestis Prime, the news reached Grand Sovereign Zaxol, sending shockwaves through the Hegemony leadership. For the first time in 12,000 years, their fleet had been defeated. But it was the manner of that defeat that caused true panic. 3 days after the first battle, the people of Earth watched the skies with a mixture of fear and hope. The disabled hegemony ships hung in orbit like strange new stars, visible even in daylight. On the ground, the first alien prisoners, or guests, as Admiral Wright insisted on calling them, were being settled in a specially prepared facility in New Zealand. Commander Vextrol, former leader of the hegemony fleet, sat across from Admiral Wright in a simple meeting room. Between them was a table with refreshments neither would touch. "Your selective annihilation technology," Vextrol said, breaking the silence. "It violates the laws of physics as we understand them." Alan smiled slightly. "Perhaps your understanding needs updating." "Perhaps," Vextrol admitted. "But you should know, the Grand Sovereign will not accept this defeat. The Second Armada has already launched from Celestis Prime. 200 ships, including 5 dreadnoughts." Alan's smile faded. "When will they arrive?" 5 days, perhaps 6. Vextrol leaned forward. "You showed my people mercy. I repay this by warning you. These ships carry planet-killer weapons. They will attack without hesitation." In the Nevada facility, Dr. Patricia Lang received this news with grim determination. Her team had been working nonstop to enhance the SAF technology. "We need to expand the field's range," she told her exhausted team. "And we need to be able to target specific ships at specific times." Steve Porter looked up from his calculations. "The power requirements would be enormous." "Then we'll use multiple generators," Patricia decided. "One for every major city and military installation." Over the next 5 days, Earth transformed. Factories that once made cars now produced parts for SAF generators. 50 void-powered ships, hastily built using hegemony designs, joined the surviving Earth vessels. Captain Susan Miller, now in command of Earth's largest ship, the newly completed Defender, supervised the installation of SAF technology on each vessel. "Remember," she told her crew during the final briefing, "our goal isn't destruction. We target weapons and propulsion only." "Even though they're coming to destroy us?" asked a young lieutenant. Susan nodded firmly. "Especially because of that. We prove who we are by how we treat those who want to harm us." On the 6th day, space rippled near the orbit of Venus. 200 hegemony warships appeared, their massive forms eclipsing the stars. 5 dreadnoughts, each the size of a small city, led the formation. All Earth forces, battle stations, Admiral Wright commanded from the Orbital Command Center. "Remember your training and remember our goal. We're fighting for the right to exist, not to destroy." The hegemony fleet advanced rapidly, firing as soon as they came within range. Massive energy beams struck Earth's atmosphere, but dissipated against an invisible barrier, the planetary SAF shield. "First wave, engage," Susan ordered from the Defender. 50 Earth ships moved to intercept, their void engines giving them speed the larger hegemony vessels couldn't match. Using the SAF technology, they targeted specific systems on the enemy ships. The lead dreadnought fired its main cannon at the Defender. Susan watched calmly as the energy beam approached, then vanished just before impact. The SAF had removed the weapon's focusing array mid-shot. "Target their flagship's propulsion systems," Susan commanded. "Prepare boarding teams." For the first time in its existence, a hegemony dreadnought was captured intact. Susan led the boarding party herself, marching onto the command bridge where Admiral Drenzar, the fleet commander, waited with cold fury. "You primitives," he growled as Susan approached. "You have no idea what forces you're tampering with." Susan removed her helmet, meeting his gaze. "Actually, we do. That's why we didn't destroy you when we had the chance." Drenzar's anger turned to confusion. "Why show mercy? We would have shown none." "That's the difference between us," Susan replied. "And that's why we're going to win this war, not by annihilating you, but by changing you." On Celestis Prime, Grand Sovereign Zaxxol received news of the second defeat with stunned silence. The unthinkable had happened twice. "They could have destroyed everything," his advisor whispered, "yet they chose not to." For the first time in 12,000 years of rule, Zaxxol felt something new, doubt. 3 months after the second battle, a single Earth ship approached Celestis Prime. The vessel, renamed Reconciliation, was the captured hegemony dreadnought, now repurposed as humanity's first diplomatic vessel. Its weapons systems had been completely removed, replaced with expanded living quarters and meeting spaces. Admiral Alan Wright stood on the bridge, watching the gleaming capital planet grow larger on the view screen. Beside him, Dr. Patricia Lang fidgeted with her formal uniform. "Stop worrying," Alan told her. "You look fine." "I'm not worried about how I look," Patricia replied. "I'm worried about what happens if they decide to shoot us down." Captain Susan Miller, commanding the Reconciliation, laughed softly. "They won't. Half their High Council is already on our side, thanks to Intelligence Overseer Kelvin." The ship descended through Celestis Prime's atmosphere, landing on a massive platform outside the Grand Council chamber. When the doors opened, sunlight flooded in, revealing a welcoming committee of hegemony officials led by Kelvin himself. "Welcome to Celestis Prime," Kelvin said, his large eyes blinking rapidly. "The Grand Sovereign awaits you." The Grand Council chamber was packed with representatives from dozens of worlds. Grand Sovereign Zaxol sat on his elevated throne, his 6 eyes watching the humans carefully as they approached. "Humans of Earth," Zaxol's voice echoed through the chamber. "You have done what no species has done in 12,000 years. You have defeated our fleets and broken our certainty." Ellen stepped forward. "We came not to gloat over victory, but to offer partnership." Partnership. Zaxol seemed puzzled by the concept. Why would the strong partner with those they have defeated? Patricia moved to Alan's side. "Because true strength isn't about destruction. Let me show you what the selective annihilation field can really do." She activated a small device she carried. A holographic display appeared, showing the SAF technology being used in new ways, removing pollution from a river, eliminating a cancer from a patient's body, extracting harmful radiation from a damaged reactor. "This technology doesn't have to be a weapon," Patricia explained. "It can selectively remove anything harmful while leaving everything beneficial intact. We call it the Annihilation Protocol, not because it destroys, but because it can annihilate suffering, disease, and environmental damage." A murmur ran through the chamber. One counselor stood. "You would share this technology with us, your former enemies." Susan smiled. "Knowledge should be shared, not hoarded. That's something we learned from our own history." Zaxol descended from his throne, approaching the humans. For a long moment, he studied them in silence. Then, to everyone's surprise, he lowered himself in a gesture of respect. "For 12,000 years, the hegemony has ruled through fear and power. We believe this was the only way to maintain order." He straightened. "Perhaps we have been wrong." That day became known as the Day of Reconciliation. The Celestis Accord was signed, establishing a new galactic council where all species had equal representation. The selective annihilation field technology was shared throughout the galaxy, with strict protocols to prevent its use as a weapon. 1 year later, Admiral Wright stood on the observation deck of Earth's new space station, watching ships from dozens of worlds come and go. Beside him, Kelvin observed the traffic with obvious delight. "Your people have changed everything," Kelvin said. "The galaxy feared human annihilation would mean destruction. Instead, you annihilated our old ways of thinking." Ellen smiled. "That's what humans do best. We don't just adapt to the universe. We help the universe adapt too." Below them, Earth shone blue and green, now the center of a new era of galactic cooperation. Ships bearing the new United Worlds emblem, a spiral galaxy with Earth at its heart, departed daily, carrying humans and aliens together on missions of exploration and discovery. The word annihilation took on a new meaning throughout the galaxy. No longer did it signify destruction, but transformation, the removal of barriers, the elimination of old hatreds, and the dawn of something better. And humanity, once feared for its potential for violence, became known instead for its greatest strength, the ability to show mercy, even in victory.